All right, welcome back to a second episode of Star Wars games for Let's Talk. This is Fire Knight 13, Fire Knight 013, also known as Fire Knight to my friends. And so a correction I need to make from part one is about this game up here, Galactic Battlegrounds. It was uh, the second attempt at creating like Age of Empires for Star Wars. I will cover what I talked about in the other video where you had the space combat and the ground combat when I get down a little further. But I had forgotten honestly about Force Commander and what it was, because it was its first attempt. This was LucasArts' first attempt at making a ground combat strategy game, but it had a lot. The technology just could not uphold to what it was trying to do. The graphics and the engine that they were using did not work, and I forgot about that. I had the game. It the gameplay kept crashing or lagging up so badly you could not create a large army even though it would let you. Um, and then it would almost crash the game system. So so then they made Galactic Battlegrounds, which was more in line with what Age of Empires was. So I had to make that correction because far be it that I let that one slide. I'd forgotten about Force Commander, to be honest, and the I was not happy with Force Commander. I would like to try to play it again nowadays with some better systems, but even now, with the attempt to port games over and that problem that occurs, I don't think it would work now either. It would have to be completely updated. Like they would have to create a completely different game basically for it to actually function. Um, but the last thing I'd covered was Jedi Starfighter. So let's move on, talking about going through these different histories. Um, they released Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcasts, and it was the third in the saga of Kyle Katarn. Even though it was called Jedi Knight 2, it was actually Dark Forces 3, but they didn't even include that in the title. so that made it even more confusing. And then when they released just a year later, Jedi Academy, which was the second sequel, a sequel to Jedi Knight, a third sequel to Jedi Knight, it was technically Dark Forces 4. So they just did away with all the numbers, and they said, okay, this is Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. And so it was they had uh, a wild time trying to number and name these games for some reason. I have no idea why, if it was the publisher or what was going on with that. Um, but then they had this Star Wars: The New Droid Army game in between. It looked like it was a Nintendo based game. I don't know what system it worked off of. If I had to guess, 2002, I'm gonna guess it was in the uh let's see, GameCube era. Wii came When was Wii released? I think the Wii was released a few years later, so I think it was a GameCube game. So that's why I don't have any recollection of it, and it didn't get a really huge amount of reviews. You can see it's got 5.5 here on IMDb, so it didn't get a huge reception. But then, oh my gosh, they come out with this game, and they did it. They eventually put it on console too. Uh, Knights of the Old Republic. In fact, to this day, there are people streaming and playing this game online because it was so good, and they did so well with this game. It was single player, um, and you went through this whole idea of being in the Old Republic when the Sith Empire, the original Sith Empire, was trying to take over the galaxy, and you were a Jedi. Actually, you started out as a Republic soldier, and then you became a Jedi. Um, and it was great. It was a great game. Um, I did not finish this game. I keep saying one of these days I'm going to finish this game. Uh, and then I tell myself, well, I'll just do it. I'll just stream it. That'll make me want to finish the game. No, I just need to finish the game. I just need to sit down and play it because that's how I play the games most. I don't do well with streaming games. Y'all have seen me stream games. I enjoy it, but I don't. It doesn't push me any harder to play the game through uh, to stream it. In fact, I generally do better with just getting obsessed with it and playing it and not worrying about hitting record or whatever. Um, but I did get into this next game. Star Wars Galaxies was my jam. I played Ultima Online, which was the first MMORPG I ever played. The second one was EverQuest. I played it a little bit. I actually played EverQuest 2, which released, I think, after Star Wars Galaxies did. I had a lot of friends in Star Wars Galaxies that played EverQuest 2, so they dropped Star Wars Galaxies to go play EverQuest 2 because they were EverQuest players. Well, I was an Ultima player and I didn't care about EverQuest 2. Not to mention, once I tried to upload EverQuest 2, I was having trouble with the game because the MMOs started having a lot of trouble with um, gameplay issues because they were trying to push the letter of graphics. Um, in MMOs a lot of people and a large amount of graphics just does not work well together, especially at this time. So, but I loved this game before they changed it, and then they changed it, and they changed it again, and then they changed it a third time. So I'll get into that here in a minute. Then they did Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike, which was successful. It actually has a higher rating than Star Wars Galaxies did, but nowhere near what Knights of the Old Republic had. And then they come out with Knights of the Old Republic 2. Doesn't have as high a rating, but it was just as well received. So a few people were disappointed, but you can tell it was not that big a disappointment for even most people. It carried on the saga of the character from the first game, and it was also very well done. In fact, they upgraded the graphics to where it was actually a prettier game. Then they released Battlefront, and Battlefront I played on the I want to say on the PlayStation 2, but they had actually created it. No, it was PlayStation 2. Um, or had they released PlayStation 3 by then? No, they haven't. They hadn't released that. So it was on Xbox, the original Xbox. That's what it was else what else it was on. And I think it was on GameCube. I feel like it was also on GameCube. But this one um it was a shooter. It was a fun shooter, but it was it was almost, with the exception of the respawning. You would have respawn points, and you had like it was it was the updated version of Star Wars Doom, or actually more of a Counter Strike, or what was the original title for Counter Strike? Um, I can Counter Strike was a sequel, but it put it in more. The name is just escaping me, but it was very similar to those style shooter games. Well, then they released Jump to Lightspeed for Galaxies. Oh, I was so in love with this game, and even with the disappointment that a lot of people had with Jump to Lightspeed, it got great reviews. It made Star Wars Galaxies what it was originally meant to be. You can tell it 7.1 to 8.1. Everybody got back into this game because now I can go to space and I can fly. And then they did episode 3, the Revenge of the Sith video game. It was okay. They had fair uh, um, reviews. You got to play as Anakin Skywalker and as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it did okay. It did good. I did not play it because by this time I didn't want to watch a movie on a video game. I didn't want to relive a movie in a video game, and so I'd quit doing that. And then Battlefront 2 come out, which was the sequel to the shooter, and it made it so much better because then you could be the Republic era, the Clone Wars era fighting took come into play, and you got to be a Republic soldier playing against or you could be a stormtrooper or just whatever. And it had a really fun element of it. The storyline took you from the Republic era all the way through to the Empire era, and it was just really fun to play. Um, and then they did Republic Commando. I have this game on PC. It's the first time I've ever actually owned the game where I could play it, because what they did was they did this game came out on Xbox console exclusively and I think on PC. I didn't have a PC at that. No, it didn't come out on PC either. It came out on Xbox exclusively. And I bought the game when I bought an Xbox 360. I was trying to remember what the next console was called because they don't do 1, 2, and 3. And I bought this game because I thought I was going to be able to play it on Xbox 360. And then I realized after I got it and tried it, it was not backwards compatible. Oh, I was so disappointed. You just don't know. I was so mad that it wasn't playable. I still have the game. I still have that game from Xbox that I couldn't play on any other system. And I bought it on PC so I could play it in my, now in my older era. And yeah, that I haven't played it yet. Because I just don't play controller much uh, on my PC, and I don't know if I can play mouse and keyboard with it. I haven't even looked into it. So one of these days, it's kind of like Old Republic, uh, Knights of the Old Republic. I'm one of these days I'm gonna get back into it and finish the game, but I've got to start over because I don't remember what was going on. Um, and then there's Lego Star Wars came out, and oh, what the craze Lego is! That Lego Star Wars, of course it relived the game, but in a comical way. It was just a fun series. This was episodes 1, 2, and 3. Then they did the 4, 5, and 6 later. Uh, and then Star Wars Galaxies. Now, keep in mind, I was still playing Star Wars Galaxies, and I had already moved on to some other MMOs at this time. WoW being one of them, World of Warcraft being one of them. But I still went back to this game a lot until after Rage of Wookiees. Now, I played Rage of Wookiees, and I thought, hey, this is fun. But then I don't remember, somebody else took over Star Wars Galaxies, or Sony took direct control of it, or something happened, and they said, we want to make this. We want to get. This is what happened with Star Wars Galaxies. They saw WoW at its height. Now this is WoW at its height. 2005, World of Warcraft was the most popular game in the world. Okay, and Star Wars Galaxies was like, we want that. We want to be that. They've always did that. They've always tried to clone games. You can go all the way back to, look at Battlefront 2. You can go back to the original games were the first Empire Strikes Back game, which was an Atari, which was just an Atari shooter, but still, and Knights of the Old Republic, and Star Wars Galaxies was an original game when it first came out. It was fairly original, even though it was an MMO and it was based on EverQuest, if you think about it. But it was still kind of its own thing. But I'm trying to look back. How many of these games were actually originals? X-Wing, Okay. Uh, Star Wars Rebellion was kind of an original. That may be why I liked it so much. But even it had some comparable properties. But this was a clone. Jedi Knight, Dark Forces was a clone. Um, they were all clones of more popular games throughout history. I would say the Super Star Wars games were fairly originals, but yeah, I mean, we didn't get anything other than clones. I mean, if you look at the Galactic Battlegrounds, like I just said, it was an Age of Empires clone. They kept it's almost like somebody said Clone Wars and they said, "Oh, you mean video games?" but that's what they did, and so they changed Star Wars Galaxies and had this set um, class system similar to World of Warcraft that just, in my opinion, made the game just completely suck. And then they tried to fix it by keeping the class system, but what did they do? They did. I had left. I left the game. I left the game in the total experience, or the new game experience. That's what this was called at the time, the new game experience. And I left it. So no, total experience was all three of these releases. This is when they changed it. Trials of Obi Wan. And that's what it was. Yeah, you played as Obi Wan and you did all this stuff, and I was like, I don't care about that. I'm done with this game. And maybe that's after that they did the new game experience. But it may not even be on here. I feel like it came right in his era because I quit after Rage of the Wookiees, so I feel like it was in this time frame. Um, then Empire at War had come out. Now this was the game I was thinking of when I was talking about Galactic Battlegrounds. Empire at War was where you could develop your ships. You go to a planet, you carry in troops, you put the troops on the planet, and you can both do ship-based combat, strategy combat, I'm sorry, tactical combat, as well as ground-based tactical combat. And you had overall strategy in how you would take a planet over. And it had undercover elements and things like that. That wasn't great, but it was fun. It was fun, and it was one of the better strategy games I think they did. I can't remember anything that was like it to compare it to, except maybe, um, oh, what was that game called? But it was mostly ground based. It was mostly historical based. It didn't have the space element to it, so it was it was more complex of a game than this one. But it might be considered more of a clone of a game that a strategy based game that I'm losing the name of. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's something war, but that doesn't help because they're all war something or other. And then they did Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, which was ironic because they actually released this one in order of you know episodes 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, and 6, as opposed to the way the movies did it. But um, Lethal Alliance, I never played. I feel like that was a younger, uh, like for kids version game, shooting stealth and wearing disguises rather than wielding lightsabers or using. I don't know. It did not get good reviews. This is 6.2. So I don't remember this game. I don't remember what console it was on or what. I believe it was a console game, but I don't remember why. Then they did the complete saga, which of course you got to play episodes 1 through 6. Then they did Star Wars Battlefront Rogue Squadron. So they did another release on Battlefront. This one got fair reviews. Wow, I never played it. Oh, it was a. That's what it was. It was add-on. And I don't think there was a way for me to play an add-on through what system was I playing on? PlayStation 2. So I couldn't play it. That's why I never got into that one. And then they did Force Unleashed. This is the game that caused me to go ahead and get an Xbox 360, if I'm not mistaken. When I ended up buying Republic Commando and it didn't work, but I think this is the reason I bought. I think this is one of the reasons I bought the Xbox 360. Um, but maybe not. Maybe the Xbox One had come out by then. No, no, because I don't know. I'm not 100% positive, but I do remember this game, playing through this game. I loved this game, and it was just too short. That's what I remember about it. It was too short a game because I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to be able to expand the character, do more stuff with it, and it just I let stride on through it. I remember at that time, my girlfriend or fiance or whatever she was at the time, she because she was a fiance for a little while. Anyway, she got me the game, and like 4 or 5 days later, I said, "Okay, I finished that game," and she's like, "You're already done with it?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" It's kind of a short. She said it's a short game. I said, "Yeah, but I'm gonna play through it again." Well, I did, but anyway, they did Clone Wars. I didn't get into that one. That was after they started releasing the cartoons. Then they did Force Unleashed Ultimate Sith Edition, which I never got. It was the add-on, but they were prepping for the Force Unleashed 2. I played Force Unleashed 2. I did not get Force Unleashed 2 until recently. And I just couldn't get back into it probably because we'd broken up, if I had to guess. Um, because she got me that game and then we broke up in between the release of this one and the release of this one. So, so that's probably why I didn't get into it. But then they come out with the Old Republic, which was something I was looking forward to after in my eyes, the death of Star Wars Galaxies. Actually, Galaxies was still going on when this game released. But what's ironic is I'd moved on to another MMO by this time, and I was playing it like crazy, which is probably part of the reason me and her broke up. But anyway, because I played that other MMO so much that when I got this one, I was just like, yeah, it's okay. I couldn't get into it. I was so into the other genre, and it was a completely different genre. It was not science fiction based at all. And then they did Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars. So they did the Clone Wars stuff. Then they come out with the Wii Connect Star Wars. It was okay. Uh, I didn't get a Wii, the little add on thing for the Wii controller, so I just never really. I played it, but I didn't get into it. Angry Birds Star Wars, yeah, whatever. That's another, Angry Birds clone, so whatever it was. The Old Republic, this was a expansion, Rise of the Hutt Cartel. I think it made it where you could actually join a different faction. I didn't. I was not into the game by then. I done let it go. Angry Birds 2. Star Wars Pinball. you know, yet another Star Wars chess thing that just kind of surfaced and didn't ever get any traction. Um, I remember this sequel was big, and I think I got back into the game just a little bit for it because of the Shadow of Revan. They had tried to go back to the roots and really bring in a storyline that people were familiar with. Star Wars Commander. Hmm, I don't remember that one. Strategy game that combines the attacks on other players with attacks against computer generated bases. The game's storyline is set in the Star Wars universe. Oh, with players choosing to play the Alliance or the Galactic Empire. Interesting. There's no contribution to it at all. I don't remember that one at all. I'll have to look that one up later. That's the first time I've seen it. I don't remember this. And I didn't get into this one, Star Wars Uprising, because by this time I had, like I said, I'd kind of moved on from the Star Wars genre. I'd been disappointed by Star Wars Galaxies. I was so mad at Star Wars games because of Star Wars Galaxies that I barely bought any of them except for the Empire at War. Um, I played some of them, but I didn't. I didn't buy them. Other people played with other people or whatever. Um, then Old Republic, Knights of the Fallen Empire, Star Wars Rebels Recon Mission. That was another based on the cartoon Star Wars Rebels. Galaxy of Heroes. Now that was a mobile game. I still have it on one of my stupid phones, but I don't ever play it. But it was fun. Um, here's I played this game and another game that I actually still play on. Ironically, I play it on PC, but it's a mobile game. That's a Star Trek game. But anyway, this game here probably got me through some hard times in my life. Just because I could pick up my phone and play it on my phone. I rarely play phone games, especially anymore. But that game helped me through some tough times. Then they come out with Star Wars Battlefront. Um, and it was another clone. Um, I can't remember what it cloned off of, but it was well done. They actually did good with it. In fact, they did it so well that they had some expansions here. They did the Force Awakens Lego, and a lot of the reason games started failing was Lucas Films. Force Awakens did well, and then the Last Jedi, things just kind of fell off a cliff. Um, LucasArts got changed uh, or deleted, and they started uh, contracting out the games. And this may have already happened with Battlefront. I don't remember, um, but yeah, it was a dark time. Still kind of is, but there's some good games coming out. And let me talk about they did Battlefront 2, which was cash grab. Oh, at least when it was first released. They had a lot of DLC stuff that actually made you more powerful, and that's why people really backlashed against Battlefront 2. But then they did Jedi Fallen Order, and this game was well done. I did not play all the way through the game, but it was a well done game, and I did enjoy it. And one of these days I'm going to go back and finish it because they did come out, or they are coming out with a sequel. Let me pop over to this Jedi Survivor. Excuse me. I don't know. Let's open a new tab. I don't know when the release. April 20. Oh, it's coming up quick. April 28th. So I guess I really ought to get back into the games. That was my looking up certain graphics and stuff. Um, why is that still up? And so for this game to be coming out this quick, maybe I do need to get back into it and finish the game. I'm at a certain point. I think I'm about halfway through the game, or maybe a little further. I just never finished it. And then the Skywalker saga has all 9. You notice after, and this is what I find interesting. They did Lego Star Wars Force Awakens, and then they didn't do any of the other movies, but they come out with all 9 of the movies in the Skywalker saga. So that tells you a little bit about the traction they have on the last 2 films they released. When video games aren't being released to reflect a movie, then the movie's probably not as successful as they want it to be. And you know, I have my opinions about those movies. And people can like those movies or not. I don't really have any opinion about somebody else's opinion, but I did not like the movies. Um, and that shows that a lot of people didn't either. They did Squadrons, which was almost like an X-wing reboot, um, where you're flying pilot. I did not get to play it. I just wasn't going to pay that much money to play a game that was similar to X-wing but not X-wing. It had a lot of stuff that looked neat, but I did not get into this, and I was into other games at the time, so I just couldn't sacrifice the money for this game. And being older now, I don't throw money at games like I used to either. So, but they are coming out with a Knights of the Old Republic remake, so we will see how that one happens. And then they're coming out with this game called Eclipse. I think very little is actually known about this game. See what this said. It looks like they have a trailer. I'm not going to play the music because I'm afraid of copyright issues. Okay, so it looks like they are going to expand into uh, some of the elements of Star Wars that they've kind of introduced in some of the TV series and stuff. It's hard for me to say, um, but yeah, that's where we're at with this. And then they're also coming out with this one, Star Wars Hunters. I think I mentioned it earlier. Um, and that's where these are the last or the upcoming releases. This one and this one. I'm not sure if this one's released yet. Did it release? Yeah, that's right. It's a mobile app game. So I knew I talked about it, but I forgot what I said because whatever. But yeah, I think people are looking forward to this one and wondering about Eclipse. But we will see, and I appreciate your time. I'm going to call this one part two, and we are done with Star Wars games. I couldn't help it. It took two full sessions, over an hour long, of me talking, which is probably what not most of you don't really care to hear, um, but this is a passion of mine is games, and when you put my passion of games and my passion with Star Wars together, you get a lot of information. Um, and I don't even have all the information. I didn't play every game. I can't possibly play every game. I don't have an opinion on every game, but I will talk about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed uh, and gave me your time. If you didn't, I understand. If you did and you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, and comment. This is Fire Knight 13 signing off. We will see you next time and wish you all Godspeed. Thanks all.